Good morning again. Here is the math video for chapter 19. So we're starting on chapter 19 today on Monday, May 4th. And chapter 19 is about shapes and patterns. So some of this you're going to look at and you're going to think, oh my goodness, I know how to do this, easy peasy, because we know our shapes, we know how to recognize patterns. What's different about this chapter from doing shapes and patterns, maybe like back in first grade, is they're making shapes out of shapes. So you're going to be putting maybe two squares together to make a bigger shape, or putting triangles and squares together to make a newer shape. So it's still the same shapes that you know, okay, but we're changing them a little bit and adding to them, okay? So go ahead, and if you have your book, you can turn all the way to chapter 19, lesson 1, which is on page 287. You could have read the intro back on pages 283 to 286, but that's just reviewing the shapes that you already know. What's a circle, what's a square, all of that. So you can look at that on your own. But I want you to look at page 287, which is right here, and I want you to look at the vocabulary box with me. And we have what's called a plane shape, a trapezoid, a hexagon, a quadrilateral, a pentagon, an angle, and a figure. So those are words that you're going to be using as you read through the textbook and as you complete the workbook pages. So let's look at the bottom of 287 together. These are showing a plane shape. A plane is a flat surface that is length and width but no thickness. A plane shape is two-dimensional shape that lies in a plane. These are the plane shapes you already know. So these are flat shapes, meaning there's nothing behind them. So it's just a flat rectangle on a piece of paper. It's a flat circle, okay? Those are plane shapes. If you turn the page again, some new shapes that we maybe don't know is the trapezoid, which is orange at the top. It looks like a box, but it's got the angled sides. And then you have a hexagon, which has 6 sides. Okay, and they're put together to kind of like it's a boxy circle almost. The other shapes that we are going to talk about are quadrilaterals. These ones also have 4 sides. A rectangle and a square are quadrilaterals, but what's different from these ones, a normal rectangle and a normal square, if you're looking with me, is this looks like a rectangle that's just been like twisted onto its side. Same with the square. It's just a square that's been kind of twisted onto its side. Looks a little bit like a diamond, I'm sure some of you guys would say with that one. And then a pentagon is a shape with 5 sides. So those are some new shapes, okay, that you're going to be learning about in this chapter. Okay, remember, plane shapes are anything that's flat. So these ones are all flat right now. They're not the 3D shapes. So don't think of it as like, I know a lot of you like Minecraft, and those boxes are all in 3D. So those aren't plane shapes, okay? These ones are flat. This is a plane shape. Okay. The other page I want you to look at is, I want you to look at page 291 with me. And on 291, I feel like I have to sneeze, I'm sorry, it says to combine smaller shapes to make larger shapes. So if you look at the square is right here, and then it's saying to take that square and put 4 of them together with these dotted lines, and it just makes one big square. Okay, remember I said we're going to take shapes and make new shapes. So here's our triangle. If we turn our triangle around and put it together, kind of like a pie or a pizza, we're going to make a new shape there out of triangles, okay? It then shows this other square, and if they cut the square in half, you're going to get 2 triangles. Then they're showing the trapezoid, which is that new shape we just learned about. And if they cut the trapezoid into pieces, you could get 3 triangles out of it. Okay, so you're going to be doing a lot of those on your workbook pages where you're taking normal shapes that you can see and you're trying to see which shapes you could fit inside of them or take out of them. Okay, if you look at page 294, 294 is another shape that's showing how you can make figures by combining different shapes. So sometimes when you combine shapes, you're not going to make a new shape like we just did on the last page. But when you put 2 shapes together, you're now making a figure. So it's like you're making your own creation. So here, this is stuff you've done in art. They're taking the trapezoid and the hexagon, and they're putting it together to make their own shape. Here they're taking a square and a circle and putting it together to make their own figure. Down here, they're making like a party hat out of these two shapes to make a party hat figure. And this one, they're taking the circle, the square, and the tall rectangle to make another figure. So these aren't shapes when they're done. This is a figure, okay? So that was one of those vocab words. A figure is combined by different shapes. So you're taking shapes, putting them together to make a figure, okay? There is more practice with that on the remaining pages in this chapter that you can look at if you need to help you, okay? Remember, those ones are not ones that you have to do and turn in. Sorry, you don't have to turn those ones in. Okay, so then if you're done looking at your textbook, go ahead and go to your workbook real quick. And in your workbook, you're on page 231, and if you need to pause me to go get it, you can. But today's Monday, you're doing 231 and 232. And on 231, you're going to need colors, because it says to color all the circles green, the triangles yellow, the rectangles purple, the trapezoids blue, the hexagons red, and the pentagons orange. So you're coloring all of those. And then at the bottom, it says to tell us which ones are the quadrilaterals. So which ones are the ones with the four sides, okay? And you'll just write the number of the shape on the line. On page 232, you're going to take the shapes that they give you following the example, and you're going to make it the big shape into smaller shapes. So just like we did in the textbook, where they took the bigger shape and they cut it into smaller shapes. You are skipping page 233 and 234, okay? Tomorrow, there's no textbook pages. Tomorrow on Tuesday, you're only going to do workbook pages 235 and 236, 237, 238, and then you are going to skip page 239, and then you're going to do page 2 and 240, skip to page 240, and you'll do page 241 and 242. So that's all in the lesson plan. But today and Tuesday, it's the same lesson. We're just stretching the workbook pages out over 2 days, and there's a few you're going to skip. So make sure you follow which ones to skip, because I do not need you to turn those ones in. The rest of the week just continues with what we just introduced at the beginning of this video on how you're going to make figures out of different shapes, how you're going to take shapes and still continue to cut out a big shape and make smaller shapes, or take the smaller shapes to make the bigger shapes. And that is the rest of the math chapter. So I hope this video was helpful. Remember, the textbook is to help you if you get stuck on a workbook page. You do not have to turn anything in from the textbook. Okay? I will talk to you guys soon. See you later.